Hello everyone, welcome back to our class of Python. In this class, I'm going to be showing you how you're going to use variables in Python. So make sure not to skip any part because every part of it is going to be very important for you in later use. So without any further ado, let's just move on to our class. Skip any part and always stay connected to the internet. As you can see on my screen that I have opened up PyCharm. So over here, we're going to go off the file, open up Scratch.py, which is already opened, and I'm going to just work on with the same one, which I've used in my previous class. So just cut off all the commands, and now the first thing we're going to do is going to be putting up a couple of things, maybe like a paragraph. So I'm going to put in print, open up the parentheses, double quotation, and then let's say the fox has run out of food. Hit on enter. I'm going to put in parens, put in double quotation, and then here I'm going to put in again. So he went to the forest, enter, print again, double quotation. He was almost 7 years old. I'm going to cut off this part, close the parentheses, put in another one, let's say print again, double quotation, and then I'm going to put in something like he then found a piece of meat. There we go. We have the whole thing. I'm going to close this off too with the parentheses. And then if I just run the whole thing, you'll basically see on the panel, all of this has appeared up. Now, one thing over here we have to think about is how the variables work. Now, variables are kind of like, let's say, it just fills up the criteria with only one word or maybe anything what you put it up as the criteria. So to put up your different data into your program and also run the variable, you have to also put in a specific code for that. Now, the specific code for that is going to be just what you put it. So I'm going to show it to you. You don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to take the this over here and I'm going to put in my variable. So let's say this is the name of the animal. So I'm going to put in, let's say, animal. And now you cannot put in anything like a space. So you have to keep in mind when you are working with, let's say, maybe like a space you want to make Python understand, you have to put in underscore. So I'm going to put in animal underscore name and then put in equal. Okay, you have to put in an equal because if you do not, it's not going to work. But you can put in a space over here, put in an equal. If it doesn't work, you just have to put it right over here like this, equal, and then put in a space again, and then put in double quotation, and then type in box. There we go. We have one variable applied. And now you can see, so he went to the forest. That's the name of, let's say, where he's going. So I'm going to do is put in place, put in an underscore, place name, space over here, Control Z to undo the process, place name, equal, space, double quotation. I'm going to put in forest, and let's just run it out. Now, how are you going to put this variable over here? To put the variable over here, what you basically have to do is you can see the fox, okay? So over here on the fox, what we're going to do is going to be putting in double quotation. So I'm going to do is going to be changing the command or changing the line or the sentence. There was no food for the. Now over here, I'm going to put in something like a fox. Okay. So here, first thing I'm going to do is going to be putting in this quotation over here. I'm going to put in a space. So inside of the space, you're going to put in the command inside so that it can understand. First thing you're going to do is going putting in a plus, and after the plus, put in a space, and then put in the variable. Let's say the animal name. There we go. We have the animal name. As I've put in the animal name, you have to make sure that it is also going to be another plus, okay? So put in a space over here again, and put in the plus over again, okay? Now, it is still not done. You have to put in another space, put in a double quotation. Inside of the double quotation, put in a comma, and then put in a bit of space again. There we go. Now, if you run the whole thing, you'll basically see there was no food for the fox. So now it is taking up the variable and putting this value right over here, or let's say right over here. But you can see we have no space over here. So to put in the space, we just have to put another space over here on this command, which is going to be very simple for you. Okay. So I'm going to do is going to be just running up the whole thing again to check it out how it works. But to just work on with it, we're just going to be putting in a space over here. Okay. There we go. Put in a space and then run the whole thing. And there you can see there was no food for the fox. So basically this is how it's going to work. And you can see, so he went out to the forest. So I'm also going to be cutting this part out. Make sure there is a bit of space over here. I'm going to put in another space. And over here on the quotation, I'm going to put in a plus. We have the plus over here, and you're going to put in the variable, let's say the place name. This is the variable. Put in another space, put in another plus, another space, double quotation, comma, another space, and then run the whole thing. You can see, so he went to the forest. Now, he was almost 7 years old. Now, this is old, okay? So if you want to put in more variable, that's also fine. So I'm going to just show it to you. Let's say word, and put in space, equal, and put in double quotation. It doesn't matter, or it is not going to require a code for you to put in a command for your variable. So word is going to be old. This is the variable. Hit on enter, and the last one is meat. So I'm going to put in food type equal, put in double quotation, and put in meat. Okay, that's totally fine. And now I'm going to put the same thing over here. Let's say I'm going to put in a space, and you can copy up the commands for each and every one. Control C. There we go. I'm going to put in this over here and put in this over here. I'm going to cut out these parts. And not all of them are going to be the same. So I'm going to do is going to be putting in different ones. So this is not going to be the same variable. Instead, over here, I'm going to put in the word. So I'm going to put in word. This is the variable. I'm going to cut off this one. And I'm going to put in, let's say, the food type. So we have all the variables ready. I'm going to press on this. And you can see one of the syntaxes has not been closed. So this one has not been closed. So I'm going to put in this close of the parentheses, run the whole thing again. And now you can see this is totally perfect. Now, if you want to put in a full stop, just put in a full stop at the last one and run the whole thing. And you can see the full stop has also been added. So this is basically how simple it is. Now I'm going to show you how you will be able to work with, let's say, multiple of them at the same time. How are you going to do that? Let's say I'm going to do is going putting in a space over here. Now, if I put he or change the he into something different, you will able to work with it too. How are you going to do it? So instead of the fox, now if I want to put another variable, so I'm going to put in, let's say, animal type, or else I'm going to put in animal name over here. Now the animal name should be equal. I'm going to put in equal, double quotation, and then if I put in, let's say, a rat, or instead I'm going to put in a lion. That's also fine. And now I'm going to put in, let's say, the food name, food type, equal, to be, let's say, it's going to be a chicken. There we go. That is the food type. And now I'm going to put in this one over here. We have, let's say I'm going to put in the word. Instead of that, I'm going to just change this off. Word is going to be lion. There we go. She was almost 7 years old. I'm going to do is going to be changing the words, or even if you want to run it just like this, just press on run. And instead of that, you can basically see now up till this part, it is taking up this criteria or this variable. But if I put in a space and put in new variables, it's going to detect up and use these type of variables instead of these. Okay, so you can see that instead of the word old, it is using lion. Instead of the word food type, which is going to be meat, it is using chicken. So it found a piece of chicken. Okay, so this is how it's going to work and how you'll be able to work with multiple variables at the same time. You can also put it inside. So let's say I'm going to do is going to be putting this one over here. Let's say I'm going to do is going to be putting in a plus. And if I put in, let's say, animal name, put in a space, and I put in plus, hit on space again. And if I run the whole thing, you can see it takes a bit of time, and you can see bad operand type for any. You can see the string is not working. Why? Because I have to put in another one over here. Double quotation. And it will run the same thing. Okay? You can see syntax error untermined detected at line 10, which is basically this one. So you have to make sure that this has a bit of space to it. If I cut this off, and you can run the whole thing again. I'm going to cut this off. And if you run this back again, it will still not play. I'm going to show it to you. And you can see this is still on an error. Now, how are we going to fix it? Now you can see on each and every one of these commands, we have double of these quotations. So just make sure to take it at the beginning and put in double quotations and put in a bit of space over here. And if you run the whole thing, and then you can see it will be applied. Now, if you want to put a bit of space, then you just take this, put a bit of space, hit on enter, and then you can see the name has also been added at the front. So this is basically how you are going to put any variable, or you're going to work with variables by putting in double quotations at the beginning too. And even if you're not working with variables, or if you're working with variables like two of them in the same line, just make sure to put in double quotations on the beginning and also the end. If you want to put one inside of this, make sure to just keep it like nothing. Just put a space in between them, but make sure to put in double quotations on each and every one of these commands when you are working with variables. So thank you for watching this video up till the very end, and hope you understood about everything in this class. If you still have any confusion or any question about any part of the lesson, feel free to ask me anytime. And one thing which you have to do while learning Python or any code when you're learning is that you just have to keep on the practice, because if you do not, you will just, be unwary of it, and you're just going to lose how it's going to work, or how you will know or about the knowledge of it. So without any further ado, let's move on to our next class of Python.